Ivory Park Secondary School, where she's focusing in on the Second Chance program. And with looking at the number of those candidates that were unable to pass following that announcement last night, and something that many people will be looking to enter.
You're quite right, Valen, but something else that you should have taken a look at. If you managed to watch that announcement last night, you would have seen the MECs from the Western Cape and Gauteng sitting side by side, and there you would have been able to notice that friendly, healthy, but fiercely competitive civil rivalry that is between the two as they compete for top performing province. Western Cape did manage to take that position. Gauteng was second, but it did sterlingly well, taking 3 of the 5 best performing districts. Now, I'm here with the Premier of Gauteng, Mr. David Makhura, and he's going to tell us a little bit about how he feels about last night's outcome. Premier, I think it's a bit of a Chiefs versus Pirate derby there, but are you happy with Gauteng's performance?
Good morning, Ayanda. We are very happy with the performance of our public education system, and particularly the class of 2015. With everything taken into account, our province is still significantly maintaining the position of being a very, very important player in providing quality public education to the youth of our country. So we're pleased with that. We have the largest number of bachelor passes. From the point of view of the assessment of the whole system, the districts are in the top 10 districts. We have 7, and we have 3 in the top 5. That's an indication of the performance of the system as a whole, not just the learners. And we're investing a lot in ensuring that particularly education in the townships, because that's the measure, the real measure of the progress we're making as a democratic society. It's whether those areas, that part of the schooling system which was completely under reg, that's education in the townships with regard to us, and in the rural countryside, in the rest of the provinces, whether we're making progress there. So we're very pleased. Some of the best stars, the best performing learners, the best performing schools, and the best performing districts in our province are really in those areas where 21 years ago and slightly earlier in the 1980s, we hardly had schooling in there. So we measure ourselves against that with regard to how much difference are we making to the education, particularly of the black child. So in that regard, we are the best. There's no doubt about it.
I'm sure Western Cape would beg to differ, but let's carry on and talk about whether or not there is room for improvement, though. How are we working to make sure that we see an improvement and not a decrease? We do know that there were a number of factors that contributed towards the drop, but going forward, the start of the 2016 academic year looming large upon us, how do we make sure that we improve this time around so that we have a completely different picture that is all the better next year?
Well, let me also just say that education is the most decisive act of development, and there can be no national and personal development without investing heavily in education. That's where we must direct our energies as a nation. We must direct our energies as communities and as families. And in this regard, that's what in the next 3 years of the remainder of our term we are paying attention to. Every part of the system where we have identified weaknesses, that includes introducing new technologies. And I must say, Ayanda, that what we did in 2015 and 2014 and 15 about ICT in education has yielded very positive results. One of the big change that we see good results is in the schools where we introduced ICT. But also improve the infrastructure in the schools, especially township schools. In Gauteng, we talk about townships and small pockets of the rural part of our province, but also the quality of teachers. We continue to invest in the development of teachers and have school governing bodies that really work well with to ensure that there's discipline and to ensure that there's safety in our schools. So all those are key factors that we must pay attention to. Obviously, we also, at this point, worried about those who didn't make it. And the minister this morning will be launching the Second Chance support program because you never give up on our children. If they try something, it doesn't work. Our responsibility as a nation, as a leadership, as parents, is to make sure that we give them another chance. If they have tried something, we know it didn't work. It's not the end of life. So
the support is very important.
The Second Chance support program is very, very important. And in a province like ours, where the numbers are always 3 times that of the Western Cape in every respect, the number of learners who come from poor backgrounds, the number of people who move to Gauteng just for education, young people who come here not as migrant workers, they are migrant learners. The number is always 3 times elsewhere. So here we've got to pay attention to that support program as well. And I'm very pleased that the Minister and Deputy Minister have chosen to launch this program in our province, particularly here in Ivory Park. We've got 17,000 young people who did not succeed in 2015. Yeah. But I also need to make an important point that I hear the conversations in public discourse about the issue of throughput. But in Gauteng, I'm very pleased to say that of the class of 2015, 77% of those who started school in 2003 have completed last year. 77% is very important.
That is a very remarkable
We
set,
always get
Premier.
told that we only record them when they start school and they are lost at the end. But in Gauteng, we're doing even better. So the 2015 class represents the most significant achievement in terms of throughput.
Premier, I can see we're getting very excited, and that's a very, very important piece of statistic to bring to the fore. So I think let's leave it there, at least for now. You know, our problem is always one: time. Let's leave it there. Thank you so much for that information. Well, as the Premier has mentioned, the students are here now to collect their results. The marquee has been set up, the guests are here, a number of stakeholders, and the launch of that Second Chance school or support program is what we're here for today. More on that in just a moment. Stay with us.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.